Join us. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Franchise Deep Dive with Jake and Josh, the podcast where we dive deep into all of your favorite and least favorite movie franchises, giving our thoughts and opinions on the individual films we discuss, as well as breaking into behind-the-scenes facts and trivia. I'm Jake.
And I'm Josh.
And before we get into the topic of today's episode, a little bit of house cleaning is in order, a little bit of our due diligence. Two big changes, guys. Obviously, the first, if you have eyes, we are now doing video. So you get to see both of our beautiful faces. Well, you get Josh's handsome face and then this ugly mug over here. But yes, we are doing video. We are doing video now as part of a new initiative. The other part of that initiative is our other massive change, and then we can get into discussing The Evil Dead, which I have never been more excited to talk about a movie in my entire life. But before we get into that, the last change is before take a franchise like the Evil Dead franchise, before what we would do is we'd break that into 2 episodes. We would release the original Sam Raimi trilogy and that discussion all in one big chunk and release that out to you guys on a Tuesday. And then because we were bi-weekly, we would then 2 weeks later release the next episode, which is Evil Dead 2013 Remake from Fede Alvarez and the 2023 Evil Dead Rise. And we would release that the 2 Tuesdays from the initial episode. We're changing up the format a little bit. Instead, now you guys are going to be getting the first Evil Dead film, that discussion in one episode on Tuesday. 2 days from now, you're going to be getting on Thursday Evil Dead 2, and then either Saturday or Sunday of that week, you are going to be getting Army of Darkness. And then 2 weeks from there, on that following Tuesday, you're going to be getting Evil Dead 2013 Remake, and then that Thursday you'll be getting Evil Dead Rise. And again, similar to our old format, depending on how many movies are in a given franchise, it'll change up how we release episodes, but you will always at least be getting an episode on Tuesday and Thursday. And then again, we're still doing the bi-weekly thing, so 2 weeks from then you'll get more episodes. So we thought that was a good way to make these episodes a little more digestible, a little bit less daunting for you guys. We know that some of our episodes could go up to almost 4 hours at times, and that's a lot for somebody to sit down and be like, yeah, I'm gonna listen to these two dudes just talk about a movie or 3 movies for 4 hours. So hopefully that'll get you guys to want to listen to these more. But did I miss anything,
I mean,
Josh?
I think I'd be a little scared to watch a 3.5 hour video too without a visual. So I'm excited to be doing the shorter episodes for you guys.
Yeah, and that's, I guess, the last part of this whole kind of rejuvenation of Franchise Deep Dive, guys, is we are also going to try our best to keep these conversations not only segmented based on films, but also just a lot more condensed. And I'm going to personally stop trying to ramble so much and keep my notes a little bit more organized.
I'll do my best.
All right. Well, is there anything else that I missed, or should we just get into the topic of today's episode?
Oh, I'm ready. And I know you are very ready.
Ooh, yeah. Stay tuned for Thursday, guys, because then I'll be extra ready. But yes, let's get into the topic of today's episode. That is, of course, The Evil Dead from director Sam Raimi, 1981, budget of $375,000, box office 29.4 mil, and a Rotten Tomato critical score of 86% and an audience score of 84%. We'll read off the IMDb synopsis real quick, and then we will get into our little discussion. Evil Dead, 1981. 5 friends travel to a cabin in the woods where they unknowingly release flesh-possessing demons.
How many horror movies at the time were coming out about a group of kids going to a cabin in the woods?
In terms of like American horror films, I don't think I know any.
Yeah, because this is still different enough from Friday the 13th, because that's like full on camp. Like this is just group of friends, cabin in the woods. So yeah, I mean we're getting a new subgenre here in the 80s. Or I mean I don't know. I feel like I need to look at that more, see if this was like the first like group of friends go to a cabin in the woods. But
yeah.
This feels like it must have been fresh to witness in the 80s. I'm kind of jealous.
It's interesting that you brought that up because, unfortunately, I was only able to watch the Evil Dead. I wasn't able to watch Evil Dead 2 or Evil Dead or Army of Darkness with my roommate, but I was able to show him the first Evil Dead. We had watched it a couple days ago, and he had never seen it. He hasn't seen a lot of the old classic horror films, and I think I'm kind of slowly but surely making a fan of old horror films out of him.
I like that.
Yeah, he loves like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, so I was like, you got to check out the original Evil Dead. And a couple months back, I was able to pick up Evil Dead 2013 Remake on 4K Blu-ray and show it to him, and he seemed to enjoy it. But I was like, you got to watch this. It's Sam Raimi. He also really enjoys Multiverse of Madness, so I was like, you got to watch this. It's Sam Raimi. It's his first directorial feature. You're gonna love it. And he was really digging it. And it's funny because afterwards we ended up watching Hellraiser, the original Hellraiser, because he had never seen that. And I will say, I think he liked Hellraiser a little bit more than the Evil Dead, but he was really big on the Evil Dead, really enjoyed it. I had to explain to him, though. I was like, listen, I know it's going to seem like very generic, very standard run-of-the-mill horror, like, oh, a couple of friends go to a cabin in the woods, it's secluded, and crazy shit starts happening. But you have to understand that this was like, if not the first one of the first ones to do that and kind of set that foundation.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah. But I thought it'd be kind of interesting before we get into our kind of discussion on the film and what we experienced on this rewatch to talk about maybe some trivia, some behind the scenes that we had kind of looked into. One of the ones that I thought was super interesting was, I believe it had an original planned shooting schedule of 6 weeks. And because, you know, Sam Raimi, first time director, not ever used to running an actual full on production, and that just being super incoherent and stuff and not having a lot of things planned out or prepped or any of that work, also working on like a shoestring budget, like we said, $375,000. If you're not into the film world, guys, or you don't know how much certain movies cost, you know, you probably hear about certain superhero movies nowadays costing $200-400 million. But even then, $375,000 is not a lot of money to make a full feature length film, especially with what they are able to achieve in this. But they ended up exceeding their original 6-week shoot schedule by another 6 weeks. So it ended up, when all things were said and done, it was 12 weeks, to the point where after the initial principal photography, that original 6 weeks, a lot of the cast and crew had to leave. They had jobs. They had to like go to work and weren't able to come back and help. So that's why if you look at the credits of this movie, you'll see that like Ted Raimi, who is Sam Raimi's brother, producer Robert Tapper, Bruce Campbell, even Sam himself, they ended up playing a lot of the stand-ins for, in the credits, what's referred to as fake shemps. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the insert shots where it's the Deadites' hands or their legs or their feet or whatever, or something like that, a lot of that is just like Sam and Bruce and all of that. So I think that's like super hilarious to me.
The Scotty part, was that a different actor, or did he just get a haircut? You know, when it's when he pulls back the shower curtain, and then she's like behind him, and the camera like goes kind of like close up on him.
It's very possible that it was.
It
just
looks like him, just with short hair. So I'm wondering if he was one of the ones, because some of them, like you said, they had other reservations they had to like leave for, but some were just straight up fed up. I think with the production, it was, you know, there was a lot to go through. They were they were living in this cabin were they living there the entire 6 weeks, or was it a couple weeks? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they were living in this disgusting abandoned cabin for multiple weeks. I think towards the end of filming, they didn't have like plumbing or anything the entire time, so people weren't able to shower. And if you read up on like what is it called, like the fake blood that they used, it was like this Caro syrup and a little bit of red dye. I think they used apparently a little bit of blue dye as well to darken it, to make it look like a little like grosser. But they had said that people weren't able to shower, so then you just rewatch those scenes where like Bruce Campbell or some of the other actors in the film are just getting blasted with this disgusting Caro syrup that apparently was so hard to get off that at one point Bruce Campbell's shirt that he had worn throughout filming was so caked in that Caro syrup, and it had solidified so much on his shirt that when he tried to put it on, it was like stiff as a rock, and it like shattered when they set it down.
Yeah, I think Raimi said they would have to wash their hands using like the scalding hot water from like the coffee maker or something
Yeah.
like that. Like anytime they wanted to even touch the camera, they had to like wash their hands in the burning hot water from the coffee, I think.
Yeah,
Like that's
absolutely absurd
horrible.
stuff. Towards the end of filming, just to stay warm because they were filming in like really freezing cold temperatures, which is kind of funny when we get to Evil Dead 2 in the next episode. I have a fun kind of counter trivia point to that. But freezing cold temperatures, that by the end of filming, they were burning unused furniture inside
Yeah.
of the cabin just to stay warm, which is just, it's psychotic. It's just psychotic, but
I think
goddamn if it didn't make a great movie.
They did that at the end when they just needed like the outdoor scenes filmed, but since there were so many reshoots, did they have to reshoot in the cabin after they burned all the furniture? I didn't really look into that further if they did or not.
I don't think so. I think that was towards the second.
Okay.
Like they did the initial 6 weeks. A lot of people had to leave. A lot of people had to leave the production. And by the end of it, like the end, like near towards that like 12-week mark, that's when they had to start burning the furniture. But it's interesting that you brought up how people had gotten like kind of fed up at certain points and had left the production, because I was watching a video in regards to this first Evil Dead movie. I believe the channel was Royal Ocean Film Society. And he was talking about how there was this one guy, I forget what his role on the set was, but he had like an on-set journal that he would write notes in. And he was constantly talking about how Sam Raimi didn't have a clue what he was doing, didn't have any idea how to run a production, and it just seemed like day after day, things just got more chaotic. They were less prepped. There was at one point where Sam was talking to Robert Tapert, the producer, and was like, oh, like we're going to average like 25, 26 shots a day. And the guy in the journal was like, oh, actually, we're doing like 5 to 6 a day, because they just didn't have any of this planned out. It's a first-time production. And if you guys go listen to our episode on Jaws, we talked about how old Steven Spielberg was during the filming of Jaws. He was 27 years old when they wrapped filming. Do you know how old Sam Raimi was when he made this Evil Dead movie?
The big 2-0.
20 fucking years old. The guy was not even able to legally drink. Actually, it was the late 70s, early 80s. You might have been able to drink at 18 at that point.
But he dropped out of college. I think.
Just the sheer like ego and confidence to drop out of college. And I don't know if you heard about like the pre-production of this movie, just where they were talking about how Bruce and Robert Tapper and Sam would just go around. The words that I read were begging people, not asking, begging people for money to finance this movie, because I think he initially wanted like $100,000, but it ended up, like we said, costing around $375,000, and just being like a massive box office hit.
How did they get because their initial funds were like 85,000. I don't know where that other 300K came from. I don't know how they got that.
I don't know either. I guess just like again, like you had to like really believe in Sam as a director. Like not only the people financing the movie, but like Bruce, the cast and crew. I did see that one really, really cool fact, and it kind of reminded me of a little trivia fact that we had talked about with, I think it was Shaun of the Dead, where Simon Pegg had loaned, Edgar Wright money to finish Shaun of the Dead. And I don't know if this was before filming or in the midst of it, but I think it was Bruce Campbell who put up, it was either his house that he inherited or his parents' house. I can't remember the specifics, but he had put up that house as collateral to get a loan to finish the movie, like financially, which is, again, like you just read a lot of the behind the scenes facts and trivia, and it's like, oh, Bruce Campbell and Sam were just like the tightest of friends, and they believed in each other so much. Like it's really cool, and it's honestly really inspiring, the whole just the snowball effect of this movie. Like the guy who ended up producing it, and he was the one who ended up changing the name because it was originally called The Book of the Dead. So if you look up behind the scenes featurettes or whatever, and you see the filmmaking process, you see on the slate it says Book of the Dead. It was Irvin Shapiro, I think is his name. He was also the guy who was responsible for distributing George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead. He hopped onto this, and it was his decision to be like, Book of the Dead sounds too boring. Kids aren't going to like a movie with a title that has a literary reference in it. Change it to The Evil Dead. And I don't know about you, but I think The Evil Dead is such a better name than Book of the Dead.
Yeah, I think Raimi said that was like the least worst title that they went with.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah,
why
yeah, yeah.
that's like why they went with it. But yeah, he also apparently, like, I don't know. I wish I could have seen how it was back then when you were making movies. I wonder like what the competition was like, because to even get your short, because this is based off of his short film Within the Woods, I think it's called, that came out in like '78, and he was able to just get this short screened during the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah.
Like, that's, I don't even know. I couldn't even imagine that happening now. So I don't know, man.
No.
That's, I tell Jake all the time,
It's
I wish we were in that time and we could have like just, I don't know, had this passion for filmmaking. I don't, maybe it wasn't easier, but it just, maybe hindsight.
I think it was 1,000 times harder because
Yeah, like the
you got to
process
look
was,
at it from
yeah.
You got to look at the process of nothing was digital. You literally had to
Yeah.
like cut film. You had to shoot on film. You couldn't just, people are nowadays, you can shoot a whole fucking movie on your iPhone, and what
So
a
the
lot of
process
people
is
don't-
easier, but is the amount of competition,
There's
does
more
that make it harder?
competition now.
I wonder what trade-off I'd rather have.
It is kind of a double-edged sword, because while there was probably less competition, less people making films back then, because it was a lot harder and you really had to be dedicated to it. Whereas now there's it might be easier to actually film something, but setting yourself apart and getting your name out there might
Yeah.
be, because you're just kind of trying to push your way through that crowd
Yeah.
of other young, inspired people. But regardless of that, I think it's super inspiring. Going off of what I was talking about earlier, that Irvin Shapiro guy, did you know he founded, or he's one of the founders of the Cannes Film Festival?
No.
Yeah, so The Evil Dead, because he, helped towards the end with like getting it funded and everything, and since he was one of the co-founders, The Evil Dead was actually able to screen at the Cannes Film Festival out of competition.
that's
So
really
it wasn't
nice.
competing for like the Palme d'Or or anything, but you get, dude, the perfect storm almost too, because one of the big proponents of getting this movie out there in terms of like people just knowing about it was, I think it was at the Cannes Film Festival, where Stephen King went and saw it and said that it was one of his top 5 favorite horror films, that it had evoked feelings in him that he had never seen in a movie before. And a fact that you were just, you found out just the other day about the person who helped edit this movie, which
Yeah.
if you want to break into that a little bit.
Yeah, so Joel Cohen,
Yeah.
I'm almost ashamed that I didn't know that. That's a crazy name to come across that just happened. Not even edited. He's assistant editing this. So
No, yeah, it's absurd.
just got a
Like,
streamline of talent on this project.
yeah, you got Stephen King promoting it, Joel Cohen, who's one of the best filmmakers of the last 40 years, helping edit it, and Sam Raimi, who just, again, it's just a testament to how much people believed in him that this film was even able to get made, and all of the passion. And for like so many people, probably like 2 days into filming The Evil Dead, most people would have been like, you know what, fuck you, Sam, this is not worth it. I'm going. I have a job. I have bills to pay. I'm not going to spend my time out in the fucking middle of nowhere in a cabin that's disgusting and getting caked in Caro syrup. Yeah, I don't know if you had any other trivia. We can obviously sprinkle some throughout the discussion, or if you wanted to get into discussing this movie.
Yeah, let's get into the movie. I mean, there's so much around this movie. We could probably spend like an hour alone just talking about
yeah.
the like all the pre-production work that went into this. But yeah, I'm ready to get into
Absolutely.
talking about this. I'm excited.
All right. Well, let's get into probably the thing that I love talking about with this movie so much. One of the things that I have to break into, and it's something that I always knew about this movie, and one of the reasons that I've always loved it. But this film, for this budget, and for Sam Raimi's just lack of experience, we didn't really talk about it too much. I kind of mentioned how him and Bruce Campbell were friends growing up, but part of them becoming friends was those two, as well as Sam Raimi's brother Ted and other kids in their neighborhood. They grew up making Super 8 films together, and they had kind of said that once they were all in high school, they kind of found this little collective of people that were just into the same stuff as them. And I thought that was just really cool and charming. But for this budget, for Sam Raimi's lack of experience, and for this being his first feature directorially, this should not look anywhere near as good as this movie does from a cinematography standpoint, whether it's the tracking shots, the crane up shots, just the framing choices of this movie. It's unbelievable how good it looks.
Yeah,
Like,
and so you just mentioned it. So, like someone that had no experience with this except for like his own love for it, like just kind of learning it along the way of just doing it. Like, there's no schooling for this for him. He's not, he's not built with like knowledge around filmmaking. He's just kind of like testing the waters, practicing methods, and he's coming up with rigs that they existed, but there was like even terms for these rigs that, like, I guess shaky cam, was that not a term back then? Like, shaky cam was a thing, but it said that
I'm
like,
not sure.
I don't know if he like coined that phrase. I don't know, but so I looked up like some of his rigs that he did, but like his shaky cam rig where they like bolted the camera on this like 2x4. He said, that still gives like the shaky look, but it allows the camera to move a little bit more fluid through the shot. So, they would just like bolt it in the wood, and they would just both have a person on each end of the wood and just run with it through the woods to get that like entity POV shot. Even something like when you're watching it, like the opening shot across like the pond, it looks so good, and it's something so simple, but like when you're watching, it's like, wow, I wonder how they got that for a second. It's like, it's as simple as he's on a raft and they just push him in the water. Just like, I don't know.
Yeah, it was Sam on a dinghy, and apparently Bruce Campbell was in the water pushing him.
Which what months were they filming? Was it like November?
It had to have been later in the year, because they said it was cold, and because it's like a practical location, it's not in the second one they ended up using a set that they built. But it had said in the trivia that I remember looking up that a bunch of people, because of the filming conditions and not being able to shower and stuff, a bunch of the crew and cast got sick while filming. Like, they just came down with like a bad cold or whatever. So again, dedication, nothing, no other word for it. But
and I love there's a bunch of shots in this movie where he, like where the like the spirit like goes through and breaks down like doors or windows, and I guess they like, it was like he rigged up like a T-bar, I read, and which like broke the window before the, I don't know like how that looked though. I didn't see like pictures of that. I don't know if you did.
Well, it's interesting because are you talking about the shots where like the end of the first one where it goes through the cabin, knocking down the doors and stuff?
Well,
and
that too.
It's like the final shot.
That also, but when it breaks through the window, I think was it Shelley? I think.
I always mix up Shelley and Cheryl, but
one of the girls are in the room, but like it breaks through the window.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming it's the same method. I think, I don't know.
Yeah, I have to assume, because, well, it's interesting, for years, and up until recently doing this movie for this podcast and rewatching it, I had always heard through the grapevine that in the first movie they get the shot like breaking down the house, because that's, to me, one of the most impressive shots in that first movie is that final shot where it busts through the cabin, through multiple doors.
It's probably my favorite in the movie.
Dude, it's so fucking good. And I'd always heard that in the first movie, they were on a bicycle, and that's why it's got like a little bit of like a choppier feel to it. And then in the second film, when they do it again, or at least a very similar type of shot, it's a motorcycle that they ended up using. And apparently that's complete bullshit. And in both cases, they had like built this rig around Sam Raimi, so where the camera was kind of mounted to him, and he was able to run through buildings, windows, etc. So again, just like, but you look at a movie like this, and not only, you had kind of brought up how many movies were about just a bunch of people going up to a cabin before this, but in terms of going off of us talking about the cinematography and the camera movements and the framing choices, what movies were shot like this before The Evil Dead? Because you look at a lot of the best ones, The Evil Dead, Halloween, what is it? Something like Black Christmas or whatever, and they're well shot, all of them extremely well shot from just a framing perspective, the smooth fluidity of the camera movements. Halloween has some iconic tracking shots. the Black Christmas movie from 1974, amazing cinematography. Even something like 1974's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that low angle tracking shot before the first kills of that movie. A lot of great shots. Not saying that they're not, but when you watch The Evil Dead again, the creativity of the way that the camera moves. One of the most, to me, my favorite shot in the movie, and it's probably the most iconic one in the movie, at least from like a visual standpoint, is the overhead upside down shot of Bruce Campbell's head or his face when it's like upside down over him and just kind of swoops over him and kind of flips over a little bit and lands on him. And it's just so unnerving and disturbing just because of the way the camera moves. Not because anything super crazy is happening inside the frame, but it's just how it's shot, how it's presented, that just adds so much to it. I don't know. It's really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of, even so, there's a lot of chaotic camera movement in this. We could probably talk about each scene having like a plethora of them, but even framing choices, I love. First off, this movie has a field day with smoke, and I love it. Like all the fog, it's so thick,
it's
but
so cozy.
There's like, like when they first go in the cabin. I mean, the cabin is just coated with it. I'm like, whatever. But outside, even when Cheryl is out there and she sees the bridge is torn up, and it's like a wide shot, and she's framed in like the curled metal, and the light's like beaming through the smoke. That's like one of my favorite like still shots of the movie. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. It's right before the tree scene.
No, I know exactly. I mean, purely from like just like a framing standpoint, like you said, without any camera movements. One of my favorite shots in the entire movie is the static shot when Scotty first enters the cabin, and it's that kind of high angle where the deer head is in the foreground, and the background of it is just Scotty entering the cabin. Like it's the light, it's like a very dim, darkly lit cabin. Like you said, you got that fog and dust in the air, and just that little bit of light peering in through the doorway is just so fucking cinematic. And you're just like that, to the point where when I was watching this with my roommate, again, he's never seen this movie before, he had to look up the budget, and he's like, holy shit, this only cost $375,000. And I was like, it has no reason to look this fucking good.
I know.
Yeah, it's
so there's so many, and they just have such fun with POV. I love when it's outside and it's just looking in each of the windows, and the sound design is really good. Like just the noises. It just, so my like one of my favorite things about this movie is just the atmosphere it creates. I mean, we're talking about it constantly with like camera movements and framing, and even like the thick dust. It creates such an eeriness, which is why I love this so much. But it's so unnerving. So when it's like looking in each of the windows, and it still has that like shakiness, and it has that music and like those noises. It's just, I don't know. It's just constant atmosphere and tone building that they're doing through this movie, and doing it so well that I kind of forgive some of, like, because obviously you don't have like real actors in this, so some of the acting is cheesy at times. It kind of like makes you forget a little bit about that, because they're doing such a great job with what they have, and you're not really there for the performances. I think you're there to like, honestly, after reading what Stephen King said, I kind of want to talk to him about it. He's saying he's like felt like all these things that he's like never felt. I want to like listen to him talk about it a little bit. But
what I had heard, it was a really great quote from that Royal Ocean Film Society video, and it stuck with me, was they had said that The Evil Dead is essentially taking the insanity and the vulgarity and just the out there nature of a film like The Exorcist and just cranking it up to 10 from the second that the characters arrive at the cabin. And that's what I love, because before they get to the cabin, there's a couple of red herrings. You got the hitchhikers on the side of the road. You have when they're going over the bridge and the wheel kind of breaks through the bridge a little bit and they get stuck for a little bit. And so you get all these kind of like fake red herrings, and then the moment that they're arriving to the cabin, and this is when the camera work really starts to get great, because you get this like high angle tracking shot following the car as it's pulling up to the cabin.
How'd they do that one? I actually didn't look at that one.
I have no fucking idea.
Okay, because I don't know how they did that. Yeah,
No
go
idea,
on.
Josh. And it looks, knowing them, they probably had a car following behind that car, and they probably just had the camera tied to like a giant 2x4 piece of wood and just.
I was gonna
held
say
it
they
up.
probably just got like a big ass tree branch and just like
Yeah.
like tied the camera. But I'm like,
No.
how do you? It's
Yeah.
fluid. It's like very like smooth.
It looks absolutely fantastic. And even before you get to that great shot of, what is it, Scotty entering the cabin, just one of the most eerie and unsettling shots in the movie for me is just seeing that porch swing just
Yeah,
slowly
in the
go
foreground.
back and forth. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it just like that little thud it makes when it hits the wall or whatever. You had kind of brought up the sound design, which I'm glad you did, because it's also one of my favorite aspects of the movie. There's so many shots that like, or scenes in the film that stand out, not just because like visually they're iconic horror imagery, but the sound design. And two of the ones that really stand out to me, yeah, you get your obvious ones, like, you know, it sounds great when the tree branch is breaking through the window, or the invisible spirit that's haunting them kind of pushes through the window, like you had brought up earlier. But the two scenes that I specifically want to highlight are two scenes that just, they get under my skin. And I don't know why, but it's got to be the visuals, it's got to be the sound design, just in perfect tandem, mixing like a perfect storm. Because the first is when he goes downstairs later on in the film, and the light bulb starts filling up with blood.
Oh yeah,
And you just
yeah.
get this like trickling noise, and it's so quiet and eerie, other than this little like dripping noise that you get. And then the second, and I do have a fun trivia fact about it, because one of their friends was the one who recommended that they keep it in, and it's when Ash is standing in front of the film projector, and the lens of the film projector starts getting slowly covered with blood, so that the projector screen that he's standing in front of slowly just gets redder and redder as it starts to run down and trickle down the lens. And it's just like, it is like top tier horror filmmaking, if you ask me.
So Jake just likes some blood trickling or filling up something. Just
Dude, I love the blood and gore in this movie, in the entire trilogy, but sticking to this one, so much blood.
So there's a lot of gross shit in this movie, and it's a blast to watch. I absolutely love the milk or coffee cream or whatever it was. I adore that effect. I think
What,
it's
the white stuff that spurts out of the
love
deadites?
it. Yes, that's like one of my favorite things about like the effects in this movie. It's so disgusting, and
It had to be inspired by Alien, right? Because that's the same liquid that comes out of the androids in the Alien universe.
I would think so, but yeah, it's
it felt intentional.
How do you
It
feel
looks
about the overall effects in this movie?
Again, for $375,000, they look fucking spectacular.
I don't even
love how everything looks in this.
I mean, that's a pretty like it's pretty common to respect and think these actually look really good. But some people kind of say like some of the effects don't really age well, and I like understand to an extent, but I think they look like really good. Even the like prosthetics, when like the deadites, like Cheryl. I love Cheryl's design in the basement where she's like through the crack. That's probably like my favorite, how any of them look. It also, I think, is really scary. I love when it just like cuts to her randomly.
I wrote down in my notes the scene, and going back to like one of our earlier episodes where we were discussing Jaws. One of the things that you had mentioned on that episode is that a lot of times with horror, so much of what makes something horror is the payoff. And the way that the suspense builds in this film more and more, as because Cheryl is the first one to turn into a deadite, and her transformation scene is just blistering with horror imagery and horror sounds, and it's so fucking good, because you have that little setup where Ash's girlfriend and the other female friend, are playing this card game, and his girlfriend is guessing the cards and whatnot. And I didn't realize this until this watch. The friend is lying to her. She's getting it wrong, and her friend is telling her that she's getting it right. For some reason, I'd always assumed that she like guessed one of the cards correctly, but she gets it wrong. And then from the background, you just hear Cheryl start reading off
I
the
love it.
cards, and her voice is so, and that's one thing I will give this movie the edge over 2 and 3 in terms of the Deadites, because in this one they just look so fucking dirty and disgusting, and their sounds, the way
Yeah.
that their voice is altered, they just sound so fucking demonic and feral that like yeah, it's fucking scary. It really,
Yeah.
for a film that's what, 40 something years old at this point, it is fucking scary.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so yeah, you hear Cheryl just guessing the cards, and just that sight of her like looking out the window, and then she just cocks her head like 180, and it doesn't even feel, it's not even cheap. Like obviously there's like some fun jump scares, like the door first
Oh, yeah.
opening, that's like a lot of fun. But that one, you have that kind of build where you just hear the voice and you're like, oh shit, something's about to happen, and like you still jump from her turning. Like that reveal is that is something. And obviously it's going to be like a little hard to not compare because I'm going to just stay focused on one. But I do, like you said, I like the Deadites more. I like them for different reasons, but they're sometimes a little goofy. Like they fuck with you a little bit in this one, but they maintain that creepiness, which I really like, and I like the look of them. I just I don't know. I'm trying to like.
Yeah.
I like that they all look a little different too. They don't just look the same. They have like their own kind of personality to it.
Yeah.
So
well, again, you had brought up how much the Cheryl one works for you, but I think Scotty looks great. I think his makeup, again, like the makeup on all the characters looks really fucking good.
I kind of like that
I also
Cheryl,
loved,
like she just continues to morph into like just a more extreme like it's like a slow. I don't know why she does though. No one else really does.
well, maybe because she's the first one to get turned.
Maybe.
So she has more time under the Deadites curse or whatever. But yeah, I just love how she gets progressively more caked in disgusting makeup. And there's so many great shots of her when they lock her in the cellar, like these low angle shots where she's just trapped under and like trying to bust out. And just the pure chaos of Deadites. And like you said, they are a little goofy at times. I love that they're just shit stirrers, and that's where like a lot of the comparisons to The Exorcist also come in, and why I agree with that kind of comparison so much, because Pazuzu, when he's possessing Reagan in those movies, he's doing a very similar kind of thing, but with the Deadites, it's just, again, it's like cranked up to 11,
Right.
and they're just doing everything in their power to piss you off and to fuck around with your mental state, and I absolutely love that about them.
I can't really pinpoint when their goal is to just fuck with you or kill you, because sometimes they linger on the just like taunting you for a long period of time versus like some. I wonder like what, I don't know, and I wonder how, like I know Ash obviously he's more. I don't know. I guess it's something like he's kind of like the chosen one. I guess that maybe that's why he can like repel their ability to possess him. I don't know. Like, is that kind of like what, or is he like supposed to be more?
We'll get into that more in the second and
Yeah.
third one, because he doesn't really deal with that in this movie. But
Is it like supposed to be like he's kind of like pure at the soul, and that's why they don't possess him in this one? Like, why can't he get possessed as easy as some of the other people in this?
well, I think they just get picked off one by one. Like the Deadites start possessing them one by one, and he makes it to daylight, and they seem to only come around and possess at night. So he makes it to daylight, which is why he's able to kind of get past it. But again, we'll save that for the second one, because I think that's more in this one. He is just sort of that sole survivor at the end of it, where again you get that great final shot where he thinks it is daylight. And that's another part too, where we didn't really highlight the music in this film, but it's one of my minor criticisms, because I think because this, out of the original three, takes itself the most serious and is aiming more for that straight up horror vibe and less comedy horror like the preceding two films will, I do think that sometimes the music and some of the lower budget sound effects can take me out of the experience a little bit. Whereas I think maybe in 2 and 3, I am a little bit more forgiving of a certain sound effect or a certain music choice that maybe is hard to take seriously because those two films lend themselves more towards comedy horror. And this one, again, with that vibe and that atmosphere, does build up. Sometimes it does take me out a little bit. Like you said, like the Deadites do maintain that level of scariness throughout a majority of the film, but there is a couple of times where that shitbag nature that the Deadites have does kind of overtake the horror just a little bit for me. There's a couple of weird edits in the movie where, like, it seems like every time a Deadite throws a character, it'll do a cut, and instead of the character, like, flying back against the wall, they do, like, a complete 180, and it's always, like, their face is getting thrown against the wall.
Yeah.
Which is fun for comedic effect, but it does take away from the serious nature a little bit for me.
Yeah, so were you saying, like, sometimes it feels too comedic when it feels like the overall. See, that's where it's kind of tough, because when I was reading some early viewers of this movie when it came out, some people were annoyed because they came out thinking, they were like, well, that was a comedy, like it was like funny to some people. I remember, I think
the first one,
yeah, like
okay.
it scared a lot of people, but I think there is supposed to be like a level of humor in it, but very submerged under the horror, which I think kind of flips in the second one, where you just get like the bigger percentage comedy versus horror. But I don't think this is trying to be full on serious. I think there is supposed to be some level of, because they do taunt them, they do like fuck around with them. So I think there is, I don't know, like even like small scenes, like when Ash gives her the necklace, and he's closing his eyes and like opening them when she's looking away.
Do you like that scene?
I do.
I think it's a cute scene.
I like it, and I like that they do a callback to it when she does it to him. So I think there is supposed to be like some kind of like dark humor in it, like woven into it. So it never feels distracting, because I feel like that's what the intent is. But I don't know. Maybe that's
no. And I can see where that kind of argument is coming from. Just for me personally, I think that Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness are so much more going for a comedic tone that some of these sillier bits are more distracting in this first one for me. Whether they're intended or not, I think the overall atmosphere and tone, like you said, it builds up this great atmosphere that at times I'm like, all right, it does feel a wee bit diminished by some of the more comedic elements that work better for me in the second and third one. But
interesting.
It's nothing crazy. I still love it. I just think those comedic elements are just a little bit contrasty to the tone of the movie. But
I'm trying to remember when the shot that you said your favorite shot is happens, because I know it's not the same shot, but I have one shot that I liked is when it's on the floor, and I think Ash like jumps over the camera and like whips over to like the door. I don't know. I just I like that one. I don't know if there was a cut there. I have to rewatch it.
In terms of shots too, I love that there's such an emphasis in all three of Raimi's trilogy, doing POV shots, like not just the POV of the spirit, which is super iconic. And that's another thing we'd have to look into, is how often did you get like the POV of a spirit, not like a killer, not a guy in a mask, but a killer, or I'm sorry, a spiritual POV, but also like the POV of the Deadites. Like we talked about how Cheryl gets put in the cellar, and I love how there's certain shots where she's under the cellar and you get the POV.
It's just like
her
scanning the room.
Yeah, just looking back and forth, and those evil demonic little noises that the Deadites make in this film.
The breathing, I love the breathing that you just hear, like the constant breathing too.
Oh yeah. No, and say what you will about the performances, I don't think any of them are magnificent in this movie, but the one scene that I do really love is with, I believe it's not Ash's girlfriend and it's not Cheryl. So what, Shelly is the other one?
It's Scotty's girlfriend, right?
Yes, Scotty's girlfriend.
Yeah.
When Shelly is just looking, and it's from Cheryl's POV, and Shelly just is having this breakdown moment where she's like, my God, her eyes, what happened to her eyes? And she's just like freaking out. And that's what all three of these, specifically, I guess like the first two Evil Deads do the best, is just like the utter chaos of it all. And I love how they just to give themselves up to it, more so in the second one, but we'll save that for the next episode.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think that it's kind of funny when I think about it, because Shelley, I know her eyes are fucked up, but my God, look at her whole face. All right, I don't think it's not just her eyes that there's a problem with.
Well, I love the look of the eyes, though. They have just
Oh
like
yeah,
this demonic glossy look. And I don't know if you saw, but the contacts that they had to put in, I think they were like these glass contacts that
Yeah.
you could only wear for 15 minutes at a time because you had to take them off every 15 minutes to let the eyes breathe. And that's just another part of that like chaotic production. Of
that
this
sounds
movie.
awful. That sounds terrible.
Miserable.
I don't know what that must
Miserable.
feel like, but I guess they also ripped Linda's. I think Linda's eyelashes off when she took it out.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't know if it
Again,
was because
like,
of the what was the sticky shit? It wasn't
the Caro syrup.
yeah. I guess because that was like all over her.
Ooh,
So I don't know,
didn't
taking
even
it
think
out
about
like
that.
yeah. So
Yeah.
her eyelashes got
That's
like
psychotic.
ripped out.
That's just utterly psychotic. I'm almost out of my notes. I mean, we could go on for days about how great this movie is. I just wanted to mark down my last kind of note just about like the shots. I just written down a couple of shots that I loved. We had already talked about most of them, but a very similar to shot to one that we really loved in the original Black Christmas when we covered that episode or covered that film during that episode, but the low angle POV shot of the basement of all the characters before
Yeah.
the shit really hits the fan, and it's just like this slow panning shot across looking at all the characters' reactions, to which has one of my favorite lines in the movie, and it's first off, Scotty is an asshole to Cheryl from the get-go in this movie, because Cheryl has like a very natural assumption. They hear a noise in the basement,
Yeah.
and she's like, oh, it's probably an animal because you're in the woods, so why the fuck wouldn't it be? And Scotty has like the most maniacal laugh, and it's just like, ha ha, an animal? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, I don't know what you were hearing,
Scotty,
Scotty. I've
what else?
heard way worse.
Yeah, if that's the craziest idea and the stupidest idea you've ever heard, I'm incredibly jealous, Scotty. That's all I'm going to say. Obviously, the tracking shot through the cabin. Oh, one really great one when Cheryl convinces Ash to drive her away, and they get to the bridge, and they realize that the bridge is destroyed, and just it's like this boom out shot, this high angle craning shot of Cheryl and Ash as they're like standing in front of the bridge, and the only lighting source is the headlights of the car, so you get this gorgeous silhouette as the camera is just like panning up and out from them. It's just like, again, Bruce or Sam, how the fuck did you get this shot like for this budget? How did you do this? What made you even think of this stuff? You goddamn genius. That's all I'm gonna say. Genius.
I don't think it needs to be like, well, so I think, I don't know if we were talking a little earlier. I don't know if you think it looks that good, but I like the tree scene. I mean, not for like, obviously like that's a tough scene to watch.
It's a brutal
But-
fucking scene, but yeah.
I don't know. So I guess, I don't know if they mix in stop motion or if it's all reversed. Cause I think some of the vines wrapping around her are reverse shots, but I think the one going up
It
her
has to
leg,
be.
I think that's stop motion. I think. Maybe not.
Oh. Well, there's a lot of stop motion in this film, and that's something else that I love about it too.
Yeah.
Like the sequences of the deadites almost melting, essentially.
Yeah,
It's
like the
them
disintegration
decaying.
is stop motion.
Disintegration, dude. Looks
I
looks
think-
fucking fantastic.
I think they used like
I love
marshmallows
it.
for that.
Oh, well, whatever they have, it's disgusting. I think
Yeah.
the one fully decays, and there's just like a bunch of insects and
It's
cockroaches,
gross.
and I think there's like a snake in one of the shots, like a really
Yeah.
thin, disgusting looking snake. It's just so disgusting to look at. The last shot I want to talk about, I think it's a really great shot. It's another POV of the spirit, but it's before the scene with the trees and Cheryl, but it's just the tracking shot outside of the cabin, and it's like going past each of the characters inside their rooms and going
Yeah.
past all the windows, and then it lands on Cheryl, and then Cheryl like gets this like the shivers, and she realizes she's got this like feeling that she's being watched by something, so she gets up, walks outside, and the camera just follows her as she leaves the cabin. And it's just such a great fucking shot.
The one,
Again, it's
it like
just
follows
so
her. She's like
unsettling.
walking in the dark, right? It's like the
Yeah.
yeah. That looks great. That looks great.
Dude.
I
well
I have a slight note here. Sometimes I got a little annoyed with the outside shots, and I have to like it's tough to know what to forgive, what to not forgive. I just think sometimes to light the night scenes, it looks too spotlit, you know, where it's like it
I'm
doesn't.
fine with it.
I almost wish they just colored it differently because it's like a yellow light that's not motivated by like the cabin. It's not like a light from the cabin. It's like when she's running,
Well,
it's like sometimes
I
it's
mean,
dark
I
and then
don't think
sometimes it's lit.
this is like about 20 years before digital color grading was even a thing. So
No, but I think
I don't.
sometimes the night scenes look good. Like they're not always like brightly lit. I think it's like sometimes when they cut to a different shot, it's more lit than like a shot I saw right before it.
It's tough. I think a lot of the shots at nighttime, I can tell where the key light is coming from, and it's very obvious. So I don't notice personally, I guess, any nighttime shots looking better or worse. The only thing that I
Really?
don't love is they do like a repeat shot, and it's like a kind of wide establishing shot of the cabin, and you see the moon in the background, and the moon just looks fucking massive. Like there's no way that it was
Yeah,
a
you could
real
see like
moon.
the square. I think that it's projected on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very clearly like rear view projection, which is fine. Again, like very low budget. They had to, and yeah, like listen, when Cheryl is floating for the first time, it doesn't look amazing. But again, for the budget, for the constraints that they had, I think overall the film just looks and sounds very good. There's a couple of times, like I said, where I think the music isn't super fitting, or some of the sound effects aren't mixed properly, and they just don't sound. They sound a little stock musicy at certain points. But again, I think overall my opinions are pretty set that for this budget, for the lack of experience, what they were able to accomplish in this movie, the positives vastly outweigh the negatives.
I agree. I think it's easy for like a casual movie watcher, I think, and I know that sounds like a little snobby, but just someone that doesn't like analyze them, it's easy to watch this film and say, "Oh, this looks shitty. This is like." Jake and I kind of say a lot of times like context is very important, and
Oh yeah.
you have to really look at that to see why something is impressive. And I don't know,
Yeah.
this film is impressive. I think from start to finish, from camera shots to sound design to even like no, not performances. I'm not impressed, but I don't know, just like the special effects I think are super impressive overall.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. I think it all looks and sounds really, really
Oh,
solid for what they had to work with. Yeah.
you said something about a hitchhiker in the beginning. Is that right before is that when they're going on the bridge?
No.
No.
Are you talking about Robert Tappert showing up?
Yeah, so is
That shouldn't, unless you have a specific copy, that shouldn't be in your cut.
no, I wanted to ask you, is there like a copy of that anyone
Yeah.
has?
You have to get, I believe, because one of my favorite YouTubers, Your Movie Sucks, during
Dude,
one
he's
of
like
his
really
streams,
pissed
he-
about it.
Well, it's there. It's there. He finds it. He realized when he was initially watching it that it was
Yeah.
a different part of that sequence than what he had thought.
Oh,
But
really?
it's like the German. You need to get like the German Blu-ray
Yeah,
of
yeah.
Evil Dead, and it's in there. But yeah,
Yeah, I think he was mad because
he got like
it
weirdly
said, like,
mad about it.
Yeah, it was like a half-hour video I think on it. Like how mad he
I
was
don't
about
think
it.
he values the movie as much as we do. Like to him, it's just he's more impressed. I think he likes Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness more than the first Evil Dead. He's more so just I think like appreciative and impressed by like essentially just a group of friends going out in the woods and making one of the most iconic classic horror films of all time. And we didn't really mention it, but in terms of like closing notes, one thing too is that this is known. I don't know if it's still known, but at the time it was one of, if not the most successful independent films of all time. Like from just all elements, the budget, the amount of money it made at the box office, it was incredibly successful for a movie of that kind of like I don't know the exact word I'm looking for, but of that quality, of that budget, it was extremely successful. But
Bravo to Raimi
so
and Bruce.
Bravo.
I mean both of them, but
oh yeah, I had found the trivia note. So yeah, not only did Bruce give up like something he inherited, Bruce Campbell put up his family's property in northern Michigan as collateral so that Sam Raimi not only could finish the movie but also blow it up to 35 millimeter, which was required for theatrical releases. So without Bruce, this thing doesn't get made. Not just because he was an absolute trooper. And if you guys are ever wondering why Sam Raimi puts Bruce Campbell in every single one of his movies in some capacity or another, it has a lot to do with how they made this movie. And again, Bruce Campbell just being like pivotal in it being made, shot, and finished. So yeah, props to all the cast and crew, everyone that stuck around, people whose names got forgotten in the ethos. Probably like the first AD, like who's the first AD on The Evil Dead? I don't know, but thank you. But yeah, do you have any other thoughts, or do you think we should get into ratings and get on out of here?
Let's rate it.
All right. Do you want to kick things off, or would you like me to?
Yeah, I can. I'll start with the rating. So,
All right.
Evil Dead 1981 is going to get a very juicy, very flat 8 out of 10 from me.
Ooh, a nice. Josh very rarely gives clean scores, so
Yeah, I usually like the decibels, but
he likes the decimals. It just gets an 8 out of 10 for me.
yep.
All right. Well, I'm going a little bit slightly higher. I'm going to land at an 8.4 out of 10. Yeah, I love this movie. It's iconic. We didn't really get to talk about our histories with this movie, but I found this movie very early on in my horror watching journey, and it's been very instrumental to me and inspiring to me, not just as someone who loves movies, but as someone who wants to make them someday. So, yeah.
Yeah, I remember one of my first watches. It wasn't my first watch, sadly, but I remember it was like the year I probably first watched it. I brought it on a camping trip and watched it then. It's so nice, so cozy. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great experience.
This is a movie that I feel like, and any of Raimi's original Evil Dead trilogy, any of those films, I think a lot of them, or any of them, would make for really, really fun drive-in theater experiences. Like under the stars, outside, like it just seems like
Oh,
it would
yeah.
fit.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right, guys. So those are our scores. Of course, on the next episode of Franchise Deep Dive, like I said, we're changing up the format. So you will get Evil Dead 2 in 2 days on Thursday, and then you will be getting Army of Darkness either Saturday or Sunday of this week. So look forward to that. And before we plug in our socials and all that good stuff, Josh, I got one question for you. Anyone who's new to this podcast, we used to do dad jokes at the end. Now, for about 20 to 30 seconds, I stress Josh out with a very important question that I have to ask him, and I give him 20 seconds to answer.
It's just not enough time. Lay it on me.
Well, in your opinion, and the second I finish the question is when the clock starts, by the way. We'll get the clock up.
Ask it slow, please.
All right, I will ask it very slow for you.
Maybe take a little extra time on that last word.
Let me get my let me get my stopwatch up. All right. In your opinion, what is the most underrated album of all time? It begins in 3, 2, 1. 20 seconds on the clock. I'll hold it up. I'll hold it up for you.
Jeez.
Don't waste time, Josh. Most underrated album of all time.
Oh my God.
The people got to know.
Scooch it to your right a little bit. Yeah.
You got 5 seconds.
Just for Jake, I'm going to go King of Limbs by Radiohead.
That's a bad take. That is a bad answer to a very easy question.
What do you want with easy. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm glad you had time to think about it.
I did.
You got an answer?
Hey, that's we don't ask me the questions. I ask you the questions, buddy. I'll tell you in the private of our own conversations what I think is the answer.
Yeah, I could think of something better. Whatever. That's the answer I had in 20 seconds just because I know it'd make Jake so happy.
So, guys, for the ones I've asked questions for, a little recap. Josh has said that the most underrated movie of all time is Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. The most overrated movie of all time is The Dark Knight and/or Inception from Christopher Nolan. And the most underrated album of all time is The King of Limbs by Radiohead. So, he just said that because he knows I don't like that album. All right, guys. Well, yeah, you can listen to this podcast on my personal YouTube channel at Former Film Student, also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Make sure to give us a rating on either of those sites, as well as leaving a like and following us over there. You can obviously subscribe to me on this YouTube channel. It's my own personal YouTube channel. We upload the podcast episodes here. And also, I do other movie and TV related content. So if you want to hear my voice specifically, check out some of my other videos. But that's it for me.
All right, guys. So give us a follow at Franchise Deep Dive on Instagram. That's where you're going to find most of our content. Any posts, feel free to comment, DM us if you have any suggestions or any critiques. We're happy to take some constructive criticism, get better for you guys. Or email us at franchisedeepdive@gmail if you prefer that. But yeah, head over to Instagram and follow us there. Interact with us whenever you want. But always appreciate you guys tuning in. Excited for Thursday to talk about Evil Dead 2. But yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, guys, stay tuned. And I hope you liked the change up in format. I hope you liked the shorter episode. I know we went a little longer than we had initially anticipated, but that is par for course for us. Yeah, and stay tuned for Thursday where we talk about Evil Dead 2, which I might even be more excited to talk about than Evil Dead 1. So, yeah, stay tuned, guys. That is it for the Franchise Deep Dive, guys. Goodbye.
Later, guys.